Students, now let's begin with a totally new concept under the topic adjectives. I want you to think about a scenario. For example, you're walking in a garden, right? On one side of the garden, you see there are lush green plantation of rose, right? On the other side, you see there is only grass. You go further, and then on the other side, you see the land is just dry. So, in one garden, there are three different pictures. So, what is that? Here you see that is dry, this is lush green grass, here the plantation of roses. So, these three things is being compared. We are going to compare these three things, right? Now, we only focus on the rose garden. Let's go into the rose plantation. Well, you will look at one plant, you will see, oh, this plant has grown, but when you compare with the other plant, this plant is shorter, that plant is taller than this plant, right? Oh, look there, those roses are bright. No, the other roses are brightest. So, what are we doing here? Well, we are trying to compare. We are comparing one object or one noun. So, when we do so, in that process, you would observe that the adjective will change its form. As in, it will take three different forms. When you are talking about only one rose, the rose is red, right? So, that is a positive degree. So, this leads me to the introduction of the first degree of comparison, that is positive. So, here you just talk about the quality of one particular noun. Now, when you compare two different roses, you say, no, this rose is much redder than that one, right? Or you would say this rose is much, if I use the positive term here as fresh, the plant or the rose is fresh, then I compare with the other plant's roses, then I would say those roses are much fresher than this. So, that makes us to focus that we are comparing two roses. So, that in that scenario, the adjective will change its form. Here, it will be called as comparative degree. So, here you will say it's fresher than, and then you have the last one, which is superlative. It is the reddest flower or the rose. It is the freshest flower, right? So, something like that, if you see, the adjective is changing its form. Now, for example, I give you, the man is old. No, the other man living by the street is older than him. Then another person says, no, I have seen the oldest man in my colony. So, what are we doing? What are the children talking about here? They are talking about a man who is old. They are talking about one person. That time, the degree of comparison will be positive. And when the second person comes into picture, there are two people who are compared. That time, the form of the adjective changes to older, and that is comparative degree. Then, the form in the third scenario completely changed because he was compared from the first, second overall, and then stated that he is the oldest one. So here the form changes, that is to oldest, right? So old, older, oldest. The adjective is one, old, and it has taken three forms: old, older, oldest. This is called degrees of comparison. Now let's learn more about them and work on a few more examples. Kids, now whenever we are doing the comparison of adjectives, then the syllable of the word or the noun plays an important role. Now what is syllable? Well, it is a word or a word segment which is pronounced as a single word. So with one go, you spell or pronounce one word. For example, cat. So this is pronounced in one go, right? You do not break it. Bat, mat, walk, book. All of these have single syllables. So what is a syllable? It is, again, can you all repeat it? A syllable is a word or a word segment that is pronounced as a single word. So the words which have single syllable will have a different way of being presented when you write the degrees of comparison. Then we have some words which are two syllabic, means they have two syllables. It means apple. So here like apple. Then you have orange, orange. So there are two syllables here. Then look at the third one, that is three syllabic word. That is three syllables are there. So important, important. So here you are breaking the word into three segments, right? So three pronunciations to pronounce one word, important. Then excellent, right? Excellent. So that is three syllabic word. Now when you have the words with one syllable, two syllable or three syllables, then your degrees of comparison or the way of writing those degrees of comparison will change. Now let's understand how the words will be written. So kids, now just let's understand how we form these comparative and superlative degrees. So the adjective will go as the adjective like red, old, good, sweet, bright in the positive form. But when it is changing its form to comparative and then the superlative, we need to know how we can do that. So the first one, most adjectives of one syllable and some of more than one form the comparative by adding er and est to the positive one. For example, if you look at this, sweet, and then it is sweeter. This is er, right? So this is one syllabic word. You are adding er to it, and then you are adding est, that is sweetest, to this word. Kids, let's now understand the rule number 2. Well, when you have positive adjectives which ends in e, then to change it or to change the form of the positive to comparative, you add r at the end of the word and then you add st at the end of the superlative degree. So look at these examples. Brave, so the word is ending in e, so it's braver, so you add r, so e is already there, and then you add st. So this is the way you change the degree of comparison to comparative and superlative by adding r and st in the word or at the end of the word. Next, fine, f-i-n-e, see here it's e. So what will I do here? To make it comparative degree, I would simply add r, so it's finer, and to make it Superlative degree, it is EST. So FINEST, that is finest. And then white, WHITE, and then you add R to it, that is WHITER, and then you have WHITST. So that is whitest. Okay, kids? Kids, now let's understand rule number 3. So that is when the adjective, here we need to add adjective, or when the word, you can say, in Y, okay, precedes by a consonant, the Y is changed or replaced by I before adding ER and EST to it. Now, here it says happy, happier. So if you see, the Y here is replaced by I, right? And then ER to make it comparative degree. Then for superlative degree, Y is replaced by I and added EST. So this is rule number 3. So whenever a word ends with Y and it has a consonant before it, preceded by a consonant means a consonant before Y. So you would remove the Y, replace it with I, and then add ER and then EST to make it comparative and superlative respectively. So let's understand the next example here. So it's merry, that's Y again, and then here you see merrier, so IER, and to make it superlative degree, IEST, right? Then wealthy, this is Y, wealthier, IER, and then IEST. Okay, kids, now let's understand the rule number 4. Well, here you will see that when in an adjective in the positive form, it's a word which is one syllabic, that is, it is a monosyllabic word, and then it will end with a single consonant preceded by a short vowel. For example, red, it has a consonant there, before that there is a short consonant of E, right? So they are, to change that form to comparative and superlative degree, what we do is we simply double the consonant. See here, I have doubled the D here, and you add ER as a regular form, and then double D there, and then EST. So this is the example of rule number 4. So you have to keep in mind that in a positive word, whenever the last word is D and it is ending in a consonant, that is, it has to be a consonant, and then it has to be preceded by a short vowel, then what do? We change it to double D and then ER for comparative, EST for superlative, and then big, bigger, biggest. So you see, this is again a consonant, before it, or it is preceded by a short vowel. So I double this G, BIGGER, and then BIGGEST, that is for superlative degree. So I hope you all have understood all the 4 rules of changing the single syllabic words into the comparative and the superlative degree. Kids, now let's understand the polysyllabic words. I mean the words with more than 2 syllables, right? So for example, excellent, beautiful, industrious, important, all these are words with many syllables. So in that case, what do? We add more and most before the adjective to make it, or to change it to comparative and superlative. So let's look at the example here. So it is beautiful, that's beautiful. So 3 syllables are there. So more beautiful, and then we have most beautiful. Okay, then difficult, more difficult, most difficult. So this is going to be the comparative degree, this is going to be the superlative degree. Then industrious, more industrious, most industrious. So I hope this rule is clear. So let's just do a quick recap. So we add more and most before the polysyllabic word. So before the word we add more, before this one we add most. So this is to make comparative and this is to make the superlative degree. Kids, well, in English there are always exceptions. We just understood the 4 rules, right? But there are some words which just do not follow the rules. Now we will go ahead and understand or look into these examples. So the words which do not go by or follow the 4 rules mentioned of the comparison of degree, they are simply stated as irregular adjectives or irregular words. Now what are those examples? It's like good. So when you say compare 2 people, so it's like Radha is a good girl, then no, Shyama is better than Radha, and then I'll say I think Ramya is the best. So here we are doing a comparison, but we are not adding ER or IER anymore. So we simply having irregular words, that is good, better, best, bad, worse, worst. Then we have little, less, least. You have late, later, latter. Then you have latest and last. So these are some of the examples of the irregular comparison. So kids, I hope you all have understood these concepts under adjectives. Apply these rules to solve the next exercises given in your grammar books. Students, now that we have understood all the rules of changing the positive degree to comparative degree, the comparative degree to superlative degree, now we shall understand how we should apply these rules in a sentence. So students, look at these examples on the board. Positive degree, comparative degree and superlative degree. So we take one adjective to start with, wise, right? So wise, W-I-S-E. You remember the rule that we applied? What should we add to make it comparative degree? R. You're right, wiser. And then superlative degree, wisest. Correct. So let's see how we are using them and what are the grammatical rules to be applied before or after the word or the adjective is placed in a sentence. So first one, he is as wise as Solomon. So here it is, as wise as Solomon. So please note that in the positive sentences or the positive adjectives, we have to use as before and after the positive adjective. Now let's look at the comparative degree. Here Solomon was not wiser than he is. So here we are comparing Solomon with another person, correct? So here wiser. So wise has been changed to wiser, correct? Comparative degree, but always note that after you place the comparative degree adjective, it will always be followed by a than. So this word than is a must in comparative degree because you are comparing 2 people. So Solomon was not wiser than he is. Now let's look at superlative degree. It says he is the wisest. Yes, now we changed wise, wiser to wisest. So we have the superlative degree. But the most important grammatical rule here is to have the just before the superlative adjective form. So here it is the. So please keep in mind that whenever you are writing a positive adjective in a sentence, you will use as, wise as, and then you use comparative degree, then it will be wiser than, and then if it is a superlative degree, then it will be wisest, the wisest, I'm sorry. Okay, so let's look at another example, similar one. So kids, this is yet another example. Very few Indian cities are as big as Chennai. So it is as big as. So here you see this is in positive degree and we use as just before and after it. Now how do we change this to comparative degree? So we need to keep in mind that we need to apply the third rule, where if you see the consonant is preceded by a short vowel. So what will the rule be? It becomes bigger and finally it will become the biggest. Okay, so bigger, we need to change big to bigger here and then followed by than. That's the rule. So let's see how we can change this. So we're talking about Chennai. So Chennai is bigger than, right? Then you come to the sentence here, most other cities. So very few cities and most other cities of most other Indian cities. So we are just going to place the words rightfully. That's all we have to understand. But make sure this rule is followed. So Chennai is bigger than most other Indian cities. Here we are talking about other cities here. Very few cities in India is as big as Chennai, right? Then superlative, Chennai is one of the biggest. So again we apply this rule biggest, but you remember I told you before biggest you write the. So that is what you have to write here. So the biggest of Indian cities. So Chennai is one of the biggest of Indian cities. So you can solve as many questions possible on this particular topic and kind of expert yourself. So as many questions you will solve, you will become that much efficient in framing grammatically correct sentences. So now we move on to our next exercise, which is just equivalent to this. We apply the rules which we have learnt here and we are going to solve that exercise. But before we move to that, I would want to highlight another rule, that is when we are talking about the adjectives which are polysyllabic, like beautiful, excellent. So in that case, what would we do? So let's just understand that and we will conclude the chapter solving the exercises given in your grammar book. So kids, so first one is important. So this is a polysyllabic word. So as important as, and then for example, for students, that is, there is nothing as important as their studies. Okay, then nothing is more important than our studies for students. Then studies is the most important thing for students. So it's like the most important. The same rule applies. It's just that you have to add important, more important and most important, right? So in positive you will add as, in comparative you will use than, and in superlative you will add the. So the same rule, but The same for polysyllabic word, you add more and most. So that is the only difference. So let's move on to our exercise, page number 24. I will do the first one for you. You will do the second and the third. And the exercise B, it also says each of these sentences contains an error. So you will have to check that error and identify if they are comparative, superlative or positive. Rewrite the sentence as well. So let's begin with A. Fill in the blanks with the comparative and superlative forms of the adjectives in the bracket. Okay. So the dash young of the two brothers decided to build a dash wall around the old wall. So look at this sentence now. The dash of the two brothers decided to build a dash wall around the old dash wall around the old wall. So here the is used in the starting, so but natural that you will use youngest, right? So the youngest of the two brothers decided to build a tall wall. So here there is no than after the tall, there is no as before, there is no comparison here. So it's simply in a positive degree form. Then the wall had been destroyed by the dash gale to hit the area. Now strong is the adjective, right? So the strongest, you're going to add the strongest. His father had purchased the dash quality bricks. Now again there is the. So in the bracket there is adjective good. So if you recall, what is the superlative of good? Good, better, best. So the best is the answer. So what would you write? The best quality bricks and the expensive. Now again you have the. So we apply this rule, right? So the most expensive. Expensive is polysyllabic. So you will write the most expensive cement for the purpose. He called up his friend who was the big trader. Again, the biggest trader in the locality and asked him to send 2 bags of sand. It was the dash important work that he had lined up for now. So it is the dash important work that he had lined up for now. So again you apply the same rule here, the most important. Okay kids? So I hope this exercise is really easy and interesting for you to solve. Let's move on to the next one. It says each of these sentences contains an error in the use of positive, comparative and superlative adjectives. Identify them and rewrite these sentences. So what would we do? This is best of the 2 songs. Now best is identified as superlative degree. So I told you the rule that always the superlative adjective will be preceded by the, right? The article, the. So you will write this is the best of the 2 songs. So please add that the in there before the best and write the sentence again. Now, who is taller? Rima, Ritu or Ginny? Now, here, who is taller? Here you are using, they have given you 3 people's name, person's name, Rima, Ritu or Ginny. So here, taller is not correct. We are not comparing. But out of these 3 girls, Rima, Ritu and Ginny, who is the tallest? Yes. So you got the answer. So you're going to write who is the tallest. Okay. Who is the tallest? Rima, Ritu or Ginny? Next, my work is difficulter than yours. So here you see difficulter. Difficult is a polysyllabic word. Now, what will happen here? Difficulter is not the right word. So we use polysyllabic word preceded as more or most, correct? But here what will you use? More or most? Just see what is there after difficulter? Than. So this brings to comparative degree. Okay, so we are in comparative degree. So my work is more difficult than yours. So that is comparative degree. So I hope you will be able to solve the rest of the questions yourself. Until then, you take care, be safe, and most important, focus and pay attention to the lessons. Try to write down the notes while you are viewing the videos, and try to solve as many problems as possible. And if you have some extra time, go to internet, Google search for some worksheets related to this topic and try to expand your knowledge on this topic. Until then, take care, bye bye and happy learning.